Hi everyone, this is Marianne and thank you for deciding to watch this video. A couple of years ago, I made a video about all of my archives and I will leave a link to that video in the description box below. I suggest you go and watch it, but here is an excerpt from that video. My archives are massive, as you can see. On the screen, I am showing volumes 1 through 7, and my entire archives began on 1991 when I was in high school. And my archives, by the way, are composed of journal entries, planner pages, and memorabilia. I have always brought all of my archives with me when I transferred houses in Metro Manila, all the way to now that I have moved back to my parents' house after a work relocation. Over here are volumes 8, 9, and 10. I have always brought all of these with me, although for a time I did keep them in the office for lack of space in my second apartment, which was full of books. And because these archives include journals, I have to guard them from nosy people and people who have no concept of privacy. So you can just imagine the amount of effort that I have exerted to guard my archives through all of these decades. And one day I just woke up and realized that I never want to read them again, and I don't want anyone else to ever read them. And they contain a lot of pain and hurt and trauma that I never want to go back to ever again, and I don't want to keep records of those. I have also watched a lot of videos and read a lot of articles about Swedish death cleaning, and it made a lot of sense to me. I just knew that I have to get rid of all old things that I don't need and other people won't need, starting with my archives. So, one by one, volume by volume, I took my archives out from a locked storage, then took each volume apart, took out the pages, and then shredded the pages, a couple of them at a time, without ever reading them. I did save a few items, which I will show you later, but for the most part, everything really had to be physically destroyed. I filmed the process because I do want to talk about this here on my YouTube channel. For now, let me show you the first 10 volumes that I destroyed. This here is volume 1. It is actually a box the size of a US letter paper, which is 8.5 inches by 11 inches, and the box is 2 inches thick and has a flap cover and a ribbon closure, as you can see here. Inside are my diaries from 1991 until 1997. I did not journal much at that time, and I do remember using planners then, but I never thought of saving them. So these contents of Volume 1 are all just journals. Volume 2 is also a box of the same size and dimensions, and this has pencils. I think these are, and I don't really remember why they're here, so I am going to just put them in with other pencils in the house and see if anyone else can use them. There's also this small envelope that is actually related to volume 4 and volume 5 of my archives, not this volume right here. These are slips of paper with notes from other people that were used in a legal case, which I found on journal volumes 4 and 5 when they were returned to me after someone stole them. And then here is an actual journal that contains entries from 1997 to 2000. Volume 3 is where I started to use US letter-sized paper, and I hand wrote my entries and sometimes composed them on our personal computer and then printed them out before deleting the file from the computer. And this was also the time when my vintage Olympia typewriter from the late 1950s was still new to me, so I typed a lot of journal entries on that typewriter. I used a variety of papers, from regular bond paper to stationery paper to notebook paper to onion skin, as long as they are all US letter sized. Then, when all of the papers were about 2 inches thick, I would bind the volume using illustration board or mat board, post screws, which I will show you later, and actual wallpaper, which I got from an old sample book. Here is volume 4, also 2 inches thick. Now sometimes I see letters given to me by others. What I do is I digitize them in high resolution TIFF before I shred them, and then I email the scans to the person if I'm still in contact with them. Here is volume 5, which is bound together with post screws but has not been wrapped with wallpaper and is actually thinner than the rest because this was stolen from me when I haven't written enough pages yet to build a full 2-inch volume. It took a while for this to be returned to me, so I ended up starting and finishing a new volume during that time, which is volume 6 right here. Now, Volume 6 was written when I started becoming a fellow to national writing workshops in the year 2002. So I have a lot of notes here on writing and drafts. And this old Renga here from 2002, I digitized this one and all of those that are directly related to writing and kept all of the letters and postcards from my co-fellows and then shredded everything else. There were so many paper sheets to shred, and at this point I have already filled 2 of these large-sized garbage bags, which I have since donated to someone with a vegetable garden and who needs paper shreds to add to a compost pile. Now on to volume 7. This is pretty much like the rest of them, and I did find these unused labels that I have prepared for the succeeding volumes, but for some reason never got to use. In volume 7, I also found an old picture of me and my son, which I digitized and then gave to him. And then in this volume, I also started seeing my old planner sheets. I was on a monthly planner format then, and I used a very, very red pen. I digitized the planner sheets, but I shredded them. Now let me just show you how I took these journal volumes apart, which will actually show you how these were bound as well. Taking a box cutter, I simply sliced the spine out and peeled off the portion of the wallpaper. Now the wallpaper is stuck to the illustration board or to the mat board only with double-sided tape. And then I peeled off the part of the wallpaper that reveals the screw part of the post screws, as you can see here. These post screws are made of aluminum, and I do remember buying packs of them for very cheap. They come in various lengths, but these ones that I am using here are 2 inches long. And then once the covers and the post screws were removed, I take the sheets a couple at a time and then feed them into the shredder. Here is volume 8. This is also 2 inches thick, but I don't remember why I never got to finish the book by wrapping it with wallpaper. I just stuck a post-it on it with the number 8 to signify that this is volume 8, but I never really wrapped it with wallpaper and I don't really remember why. And here is another sheet from my planner. This is from February 2003. In volume 9, which is also not wrapped with wallpaper, I started keeping some CDs, as you can see here. Of course, I no longer checked what's actually inside these. I took the box cutter and used it to slash the underside of these discs very deeply before throwing them away. And I also scanned these planner pages before I shredded them. The shredder that I am using is just a basic shredder, not very big, but it can take both US letter sized and A4 sized paper sheets and smaller. The brand is Aurora and it is a cross-cut shredder, which is why earlier in the video you saw very short strips instead of long strips of paper. It also has a semi-transparent bin, which makes it easy for me to see when the bin is full so I can empty the contents into a garbage bag. Finally, we get to volume number 10, which does not even have any hardcover material, as you can see here. But while shredding volume 10, I did see that for several of the pages, I used this onion skin paper that sounded really crinkly when rustled, and it had a watermark that said ST Recorder Onion Skin, made in USA. I do remember enjoying this paper when I was using it at the time. I do not regret ever letting go of these volumes by destroying them completely. I do not have to hold on to every single journal that I have ever written. People can make good use of the shredded paper. My old journals will now become food for plants, and that is a good thing. When all of the 10 volumes have been shredded, only these post screws remain. I will keep these and reuse them or give them away to people who need them. These screws are very old, from the year 2000, I think, when I started binding my journals into 2-inch volumes. I believe that they can still be used normally, so I'm holding on to them. The destruction of the journals continue. There are a lot of them, you guys, but each time a volume becomes shredded into nothing, I feel more and more free. A practical advantage, of course, is that I will be freeing up storage space for things that I actually want to keep and which others can make use of after I am done with them. I'm enjoying the process of destroying my old journals. It is very cathartic and liberating. And that is my video for you today. Thanks for watching. Bye.